These tall, graceful, and smiling goddesses dance in the air. Some hold musical instruments, while others are throwing flowers. Beside them, strong and muscular, half-naked male deities are flying in various positions. Who were the first true celestial beings? Discover China reveals the centuries-old secret of the flying deities. Famous for its depictions of flying deities, also known as flying apsaras, the Dunhuang grottos attract thousands of visitors. Other than the feminine flying deities, visitors to the caves get the opportunity to gaze at a great number of male deities. Flying around, surrounding the goddesses, the masculine flying idols are varied. Some appear strong, others slim. Some appear clumsy, while others appear elegant. Where do these flying deities come from, and what connection exists between the male and female gods? The Dunhuang Mogao grottos, built in 366 AD in Gansu province, northwestern China, contain the largest number of flying apsaras. These caves have been buried under the desert sands for more than 1,600 years. Ancient Buddhist scriptures cite the flying deities as a fusion between two gods from Buddha's 8 divine guards. In early Dunhuang murals, only male flying gods appear. It is possible the original flying deities were male. Both a tourist attraction and a famous museum of ancient Buddhist art, many artists visit the Dunhuang caves to copy the murals and study the art. In 1943, Zheng Daqian, a famous Chinese painter, exhibited his copies of the Dunhuang murals to the public for the first time. The exhibition gained much attention as one of Dunhuang's major attractions. The caves with their flying maidens gained global fame. Dunhuang is located at the joint area of Eurasia, east of Central Asia and the Aegean Sea. In many religions, winged deities are depicted as well. In the West, these winged messengers are known as angels. To Dunhuang's east, China's broad central plains stretch out. In China's native religion, Taoism, many flying deities are found as well. Most of them wear loose robes, riding divine beasts and gliding on clouds. Yet the Dunhuang flying apsaras frequently appear half-naked, brandishing colorful ribbons, and are markedly different from the Taoist flying idols. The images of flying apsaras originated in ancient Indian folklore. Later incorporated into Buddhist lore, they became Buddha's guardian deities, belonging to the 8 demigods and semi-devils. Some legends place the flying deities in the Jinggang Caves south of Shumi Mountain. Other legends claim they were mere mirages. It is said that when Buddha achieved nirvana under the Bodhi tree, the flying apsaras were found flying around him, burning incense and playing divine songs, paying homage. Dancing in midair, singing joyous songs, they were called the deities of song and dance. Since the inception of Buddhist art, flying apsaras have always accompanied a statue of Buddha. Ever since being introduced to Western China through India, the flying maidens have been flying in the Dunhuang Mogao grottos. Cave 275 is believed to be the earliest existing cave in Dunhuang. Dug out at roughly 400 AD, in this cave the flying idols are all male, with slender bodies and lean faces. From the early years of the Northern Liang dynasty up until the Sui dynasty, all flying deities were male. However, in Kizil's Thousand Buddha Cave, 2,000 miles west of Dunhuang, a painting of an Indian male deity was found. This deity was depicted as muscle-bound and bearded. It displayed none of the grace predominant to the flying deities in the Dunhuang caves. This painting precedes the Dunhuang murals by a full century. Next to this coarse and masculine idol is an attractive female deity. In ancient Indian Buddhist legends, flying apsaras were born from a union between two gods. Both adept at song and dance, the two gods loved each other, lived in harmony, and never left each other's side. Dunhuang's flying deities paintings originated from Kizil. Yet why do the caves in Kizil feature both varieties of apsaras, whereas in Dunhuang's earlier murals, only the male ones appear? During the 3rd century AD, many ethnic groups lived in Dunhuang. Their dress code was heavily influenced by the Han culture. According to Confucius, people must dress properly to show their civility and good manners. The Chinese were uncomfortable with naked Indian deities, in particular the female deities. For the Chinese, it was impossible to worship naked deities in public. Artisans began phasing out the female apsaras, accounting for the absence of the female goddesses in the early Dunhuang murals and statues. No one could have imagined how different the male flying apsaras would look after reaching China. This is a painting of flying deities when they were first introduced to the Middle Kingdom. Indian Buddhist paintings were crafted in a unique fashion. People or gods were all painted with elongated noses and large eyes, looking almost alien. They had no instruments, had no jewelry or decorations. They were outlined in thick, dark colors, their faces oval-shaped and glowing halos circling their heads. Their feet in the air and their arms open or extended forward, they were not so much gracefully flying in midair as they seemed to be awkwardly falling from the sky. Even the Buddha beside them couldn't hold his laughter. Having been exposed to the desert elements, their colors have since been tarnished, turning black. Many people erroneously believe that this was intentional. They surmise since the characters originated in India, their skin should be darker. A century after the apsaras were introduced to China, Taoism began gaining momentum. Soon, images of the flying apsaras began to change in order to conform to that of Taoist deities. They became thin and elegant. In the Western Wei dynasty, male flying deities were slender, diminutive, with delicate eyes. They were no longer awkward. They seemed to be elegantly flying through the sky. These two flying deities wear long silk gowns with colorful ribbons tied around their slim bodies. Flying up and down, they are smiling, holding a small flower. Clouds and mists around them emphasize their beautiful images and agility. During the Sui dynasty, flying apsaras became full-figured, wearing elaborate headdresses and hairstyles. Lengthened ribbons fluttering in the air made these deities look more like tender maidens. Gradually, they were gathered in groups, holding various musical instruments, forming a Buddhist symphonic orchestra. The Chinese representation of the flying apsaras is a departure in both image and in spirit. Up until the Tang dynasty, all flying apsaras turned into full-figured maidens with charming faces, a trait of the Tang dynasty beauty codes. The male deities were all gone. Flying deities in this period had shapely bodies. Their bodily gestures also varied. They would be seen flying up and down, darting down the wind or against it, shaking their waists and bending over, naturally, gracefully. Although they were female, they were still considered powerful, freely flying among mountains and buildings, leading people to heaven's gates. The most widespread flying deities were painted during the Tang Dynasty. What motivated the change from male to female when painting the flying deities? According to historical records, flying apsaras do not sustain on wine or meat. Instead, they found sustenance in fragrance. Their bodies thus produced a lasting scent. Wherever there were flying apsaras, their fragrance would linger in the air. This earned them the name gods of fragrance. For the Chinese, worshipping a fragrant, muscle-bound, dirty, bearded deity was difficult to accept. Additionally, scattering flowers and playing music was not considered a manly activity. Many concluded a flying woman is far more beautiful than a flying man. However, the flying deities turned female only during the Tang Dynasty. During the Tang Dynasty, China's foreign relations were at an all-time high. Keeping an open mind, noble women in China enjoyed riding horses, dancing, singing, and wearing costumes from different countries, including men's clothes. The daily clothes for Tang women were loose silk gowns with a low and revealing neckline. In the imperial palace, women wore even more scant clothing. During the Tang Dynasty, a woman's bare skin was considered a symbol of nature and beauty. Images of full-figured, attractive, and healthy women were favored in those days. This environment made the imagery of semi-naked female deities more tolerable. The social taboo had been lifted, and after 300 years of absence, the beautiful female deities finally regained their status. Images of flying deities from the Tang Dynasty were inspired by young aristocratic girls. Their mannerisms, gestures, and expressions embodied a then prevalent notion of beauty, which was then fused with the Buddhist deities. Since its introduction to China over 2,000 years ago, images of Buddhist deities have undergone several changes to meet both the spiritual needs and artistic preferences of the Chinese. During the Tang Dynasty, in the reign of China's only female emperor, Wu Zetian, the conservative traditions were defied. Buddha's image became softer and gentler. bodhisattvas were often effeminized. Under these circumstances, the images of feminine flying apsaras seemed only natural. The flying deities, devoted to guard Buddha, favored music and entertainment over fighting and killing. Although throughout history their gender and image have changed, they remain pure and innocent, focusing on spreading music and happiness to the world. In the world of Buddhism, they are humble, yet remain some of the most beautiful deities. For centuries, the Dung rivers have been flowing near Dunhuang. The city's poplar trees continue to shed their leaves. Human life is brief, leaving behind stories shrouded in mystery. Details of the male flying apsaras remain relatively obscure. Within the Dunhuang caves, numerous treasures have been unearthed, yet the desert sands may still conceal many more. Many believe someday these secrets will finally be uncovered, revealing new tales from the past and offering new visions of the future.